If you look at this Google Earth view right now, you're seeing Aconcagua, the highest mountain in the Americas, 6,961 meters. That's 22,838 feet. It sits in the Andes on the border between Argentina and Chile, and it's massive. Here's the thing about Aconcagua. It's not a technical climb, no ropes, no vertical ice walls, but you'll still need crampons for traction on the hard snow. Altitude does most of the work here. Today we're going to walk through the normal route, the most common path to the summit, camp by camp, step by step, from the trailhead all the way to the top. No drama, no shortcuts, just the climb exactly as it unfolds. And by the end of this climb, the summit will feel much farther away than it looks right now. Let's start at the bottom. You begin at around 2,950 meters, entering Aconcagua Provincial Park through a place called Horcones. It's wide here, dusty, dry terrain stretching out in every direction. As you can see on the screen, this valley doesn't look intimidating at all. It's just a long walk with a heavy pack on your back. Most climbers feel good at this point, strong, confident. The trail follows the Horcones River for about 3 hours, gaining only 450 meters of elevation. It's manageable, warm even. You're heading toward a place called Confluencia, a small camp at 3,400 meters where climbers rest for the night. This is where two valleys meet, and if you look at this overhead shot, you can see how the terrain opens up around you. The mountain itself, you can't even see the summit yet. It's hidden behind ridges and distance, but you're already breathing a little harder than usual. Nothing serious, just noticeable. This is the calm before everything starts to change. The next day, you walk toward Plaza de Mulas, base camp. Now this is a long stretch, about 6 to 8 hours of walking depending on your pace. You're gaining 900 meters of elevation, moving from 3,400 meters to 4,300 meters, and the terrain gets more exposed as you go higher. The sun is intense, I mean really intense. There's no shade out here, and the wind starts picking up in the afternoon. The valley here is called Playa Anchi. It's wide, endless, and windswept. This Google Earth view shows just how vast it is. Hours of walking across flat, barren ground until you hit a steep hill called Cuesta Brava right before camp. By the time you reach Plaza de Mulas, you're tired. Altitude is starting to show itself. Headaches, slower breathing, less appetite. But here's what makes this place interesting. Plaza de Mulas is one of the largest base camps in the world outside of Everest. Hundreds of climbers gather here during the season. You'll spend at least 3 or 4 days here. Not because you want to, because you have to. Your body needs time to adjust to the thin air. If you rush this part, the mountain won't let you continue. Now, here's how the climb actually works. You don't just walk straight up. You follow what's called an acclimatization pattern. You carry supplies up to a higher camp, drop them off, and then come back down to sleep lower. It sounds slow, and honestly, it is slow. You might carry a load up to Camp Canada at 5,050 meters, spend an hour or two there, then hike back down to Plaza de Mulas to sleep. The next day, you rest. The day after that, you do it again. This time sleeping at the higher camp. Climb high, sleep low, repeat. Days pass, and it feels like nothing is happening, except your body slowly catching up. If you skip this process, the mountain will shut you down fast. Nausea, dizziness, confusion, worse. So you wait, you rest, you move slowly. By now, most climbers have been on the mountain for nearly a week, and they're still far below the summit. When you finally move up to Camp Canada, 5,050 meters, the change is immediate. The terrain is steeper now, rockier. You're walking on loose scree that shifts under your boots with every step. As the camera moves upward on the screen, you can see how exposed this section is. There's no shelter. The wind here is constant and it's cold, even during the day. But what really hits you here is sleep, or the lack of it. You wake up multiple times during the night. Your breathing feels shallow. You're gasping without realizing it. Movement becomes something you have to think about. This is the camp where climbers start to realize how serious this mountain is. You spend 1 or 2 nights here, then move higher. The next camp is called Nido de Cóndores, Condor's Nest, at 5,560 meters. And yeah, the name fits. This place is high enough that everything slows down. You're now above 18,000 feet, and the air is noticeably thinner. Every movement feels slower, every breath feels incomplete. The camp itself is just a collection of stone wind shelters scattered across a rocky slope. This real photograph gives you a sense of scale. It's barren, exposed, and unforgiving. Wind is the main issue here. It screams across the ridgeline at night, shaking tents, making it almost impossible to stay warm. Many climbers turn around at this point, not because they can't go higher, but because they realize the summit is still 1,400 meters above them, and they're already exhausted. If you're still moving forward, you're committed now. From Nido de Cóndores, you push up to high camp, usually Camp Cholera, at nearly 6,000 meters. This is a short distance on the map, but it takes hours. Your body is struggling now, appetite is gone, sleep is almost non-existent. Every step requires mental effort just to keep moving. Right now, you're looking at this overhead shot of the high camp area. It's nothing but rocks and wind. Any sense of beauty fades, everything becomes functional. This is where you stage your summit attempt. You arrive in the afternoon, try to rest, try to eat, try to hydrate. Most climbers can barely do any of it. The plan is simple. Leave before dawn, push through the cold, and aim to summit by early afternoon before the weather turns. But first, you have to survive the night. It's 4 a.m., maybe 5 a.m. You're putting on every layer you have. Down jacket, gloves, headlamp, crampons. Outside, it's pitch black. The wind is howling. The temperature is somewhere around minus 20 degrees Celsius with wind chill, maybe colder. You start walking, slowly, one foot in front of the other. At this altitude, nearly 6,000 meters, every step is deliberate, every breath is measured. You're not alone out here. Headlamps dot the slope above and below you, moving like slow-motion fireflies in the darkness. No one talks, everyone just moves. The goal is to gain about 1,000 meters of elevation over the next 8 to 10 hours. It sounds simple, it's not. For the final 300 meters, you hit a section called the Canaleta. This is a steep scree gully, loose rocks, unstable footing, relentless upward angle. This is the part that breaks people, not because it's dangerous in a technical sense, but because it drains everything you have left. You take 3 steps forward, slide 1 step back, your legs are burning, your lungs are screaming, and yet, the summit is so close. Zooming in on this Google Earth view, you can see how the Canaleta cuts upward toward the summit ridge. Wind funnels straight down the slope, and every gust feels like it's trying to push you backward. Some climbers stop here. They sit down, stare at the summit just a few hundred meters above them, and decide they can't continue. It's not failure, it's survival instinct. But if you keep going, if you push through the exhaustion, the cold, the altitude, eventually the slope starts to flatten. And then, you're there. 6,961 meters. The summit of Aconcagua. It's wide up here, flat almost, not a dramatic peak, just an exposed plateau with nothing but sky around you. You can see for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. The Andes stretch out below you like frozen waves. But here's the thing, you don't stay long. The wind is brutal, the cold is unbearable, and most accidents on Aconcagua happen on the way down, not on the way up. So you take a photo, maybe you sit for a minute, and then you start descending. The mountain doesn't care that you made it to the top, it only cares if you make it back down. Aconcagua doesn't demand technical skill, it demands patience, restraint, respect, one slow step at a time.